Well, back in Morocco, frustration is growing along with the desperation. People need help after Friday's devastating earthquake. Nearly 3,000 people have died. More than 5,500 are injured. So far, search and rescue crews from Spain, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, and the UK are working to assist. But Morocco has not taken up offers of assistance from either the U.S. or from France. Chris Livesay is joining us now from Morocco to discuss this. Hey, Chris, it's good to see you. Humanitarian efforts are certainly focused on the displaced and wounded now. How have things evolved? What's the situation there like?
Hey there, Anne-Marie. Well, here in the town of Talat and Yaqub, you can see people behind me are still sifting through the rubble. You can hear helicopters overhead. They tend to come in with supplies, and when they go, they leave with more wounded on board. And as for the wounded, you can get a good sense of how they got wounded if you walk over here. Just look down this street. On both sides of it, this thoroughfare of this town, not a single building is left standing. Most of it made out of cinder blocks and this mud brick construction that just crumbles under the weight of the earthquake. About 350 people died in this one area alone, here high in the Atlas Mountains, very close to the epicenter of the quake.
Yeah, and the other thing that I don't see behind you there is any sort of heavy equipment. I imagine that's part of the challenge, getting heavy equipment up into these mountains, probably part of the challenge too when it comes to getting kind of global aid into these areas.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've been with rescuers, which is a flexible term, I should say. Many people are rescuing themselves in this situation because they live in such remote areas. And so in order to get to these towns that aren't accessible by cars, they're using donkeys to deliver aid. So you can just imagine how hard it is to deliver some of that heavier equipment. Now, we have seen rescue groups using sophisticated devices for detecting signs of life beneath the rubble, but so far they actually haven't found any, not where we are at least, this late after the initial earthquake. In fact, some rescuers from Spain told us that some of these listening devices simply aren't effective here because the materials used to build houses and other structures is adobe brick. That just turns into dust and turns into hard earth, and it has nothing to conduct the sound with. So in Turkey, for instance, you had high-rises made out of reinforced concrete and steel. If that's deep underground, that can send a vibration for many meters above the earth. Here, those devices just don't seem to have the same kind of efficiency.
Yeah, so, and you know, talking about the type of building in other areas where the earthquake may have had an impact, but the buildings were stronger, they didn't collapse. So here you have, buildings that are not built to withstand any sort of earthquake, much less one that, hasn't happened in how many decades. What is the feeling about rebuilding here? Can Morocco rebuild?
That's a very, very good question. The people in these remote areas are very tied to the land. They tend to be, herders. There's a lot of livestock around here. So the sense we get from talking to people is that they're not going anywhere. To move into the bigger cities, that might happen in the short term, but beyond that, it doesn't seem to offer much to people with this very, agrarian, rural lifestyle. But as far as how they're going to rebuild and what they're going to come back to, it's clearly going to take many, many years. As I mentioned, at this point, people are digging through the rubble. They're trying to find their belongings, their keepsakes. But as far as looking for survivors, those chances are just very, very thin at this point.